Have you ever felt like your kindness was taken for granted? Like no matter how much you gave, no matter how honest and good-hearted you tried to be, people still walked all over you? If so, you're not alone, and more importantly, you're not weak. What if I told you that kindness alone, without strategy or awareness, might actually be your biggest vulnerability in today's world? It's a harsh truth that most of us don't want to admit. Simply being good isn't enough. In fact, sometimes it's a trap. We've all been raised to believe that if you're honest, generous, and fair, success and respect will naturally follow. But the reality, the world doesn't work that way. In truth, it rewards those who understand how to balance kindness with cunning, virtue with pragmatism. Today, we're going to dive deep into that dark truth, the side of goodness no one talks about. Drawing from the timeless wisdom of Machiavelli, a man often misunderstood as cynical or ruthless, we'll explore why kindness without strategy leaves you vulnerable, and how you can protect yourself without losing your integrity. This video will challenge everything you thought you knew about success, power, and morality. You'll learn why projecting strength matters as much as having a good heart, why controlling what you reveal to others is essential, and how emotional control can be your greatest weapon. If you've ever felt powerless despite your good intentions, if you're tired of being ignored, used, or overlooked, this video is for you. By the end, you won't just understand the dark side of kindness, you'll discover how to survive and thrive on your own terms without sacrificing who you truly are. So stay with me. This is not about becoming cold or ruthless. It's about becoming wise enough to win in a world that doesn't always reward the pure of heart. Kindness versus survival. Why being good isn't always enough. Let's start by confronting a difficult reality. Kindness alone often isn't enough to protect you or ensure your success in this world. In fact, being kind without caution can sometimes make you a target. This isn't to say kindness is bad, far from it. Kindness is one of the most beautiful human traits. But when kindness is mistaken for weakness, it can leave you vulnerable to exploitation, manipulation, and even betrayal. Think about people you know, or maybe even yourself. Have you ever been the person who always offers help, always puts others first, always speaks honestly and fairly, only to be taken advantage of in return? Maybe you lent your time, money, or emotional support and got nothing back, or worse, were used as a stepping stone for someone else's gain. That pain and frustration is something almost everyone has experienced at some point, and often it feels deeply unfair. Why does this happen? Why is it that good intentions can lead to bad outcomes? The answer lies partly in human nature and partly in how the world functions. Human beings are complex creatures capable of great empathy and kindness, but also selfishness and cruelty when it serves their interests. The truth is, many people prioritize their own survival and success above fairness or morality. This means that simply being good-hearted is not a guarantee that others will treat you well or respect you. Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th century political thinker whose ideas continue to influence leadership and strategy, saw this clearly. He observed that the world is not run by angels, but by flawed humans who often act out of self-interest. In his famous work, The Prince, Machiavelli argued that virtue, or goodness, when unaccompanied by cleverness and practical wisdom, can become a liability. Goodness without strategy is not strength, it's a vulnerability. To put this in everyday terms, if you are kind but naive, generous but unguarded, honest but lacking awareness, People who don't share your values will see you as easy prey. They might take your kindness for granted, manipulate your goodwill, or push you aside to advance themselves. Imagine a hardworking employee named Lisa. Lisa is known for always helping her coworkers, covering extra shifts, sharing knowledge, and maintaining a positive attitude. She expects that if she keeps being kind and reliable, her efforts will be recognized and rewarded. But over time, her generosity is taken advantage of. Some colleagues begin offloading their tasks onto her, while managers overlook her contributions and promote others who are less helpful but more politically savvy. Lisa's kindness is real, but because she doesn't set clear boundaries or understand the office politics, she becomes a convenient scapegoat. Her intentions are noble, but her lack of strategic awareness limits her ability to survive and thrive in that environment. The friend who always says yes. Another example is Mark, a friend who always agrees to help whenever asked. He listens patiently, offers advice, and supports others emotionally. However, some friends start to rely on Mark only when they need something, never reciprocating. When Mark needs help or understanding, they disappear. His kindness, while genuine, leads to emotional exhaustion and a sense of being used. Mark's story is common in social circles where kindness is interpreted as weakness or obligation, rather than strength and mutual respect. Why does kindness often get mistaken for weakness? One reason is that kindness is frequently associated with vulnerability. When you open your heart, trust others, or prioritize others' needs over your own, you expose yourself emotionally and practically. Some people interpret this openness as a lack of toughness or boundaries. In contrast, those who are more guarded, assertive, or even ruthless often project strength, even if they lack genuine goodness. Another factor is cultural messaging. Many societies celebrate kindness as an ideal virtue, but fail to teach how to combine it with self-protection and assertiveness. We are told to be good. Always do the right thing. Trust people, but rarely shown how to navigate a world where not everyone plays by the same rules. This mismatch between idealism and reality creates frustration. People like Lisa and Mark, who want to do good, find themselves repeatedly taken advantage of. This experience can lead to cynicism or burnout if they believe kindness is a losing game. How can we reconcile kindness with survival? This is where Machiavelli's wisdom becomes valuable, not because he advocates cruelty, but because he insists on the necessity of intelligent kindness. Being kind does not mean being naive or weak. It means understanding the world clearly and acting wisely within it. Intelligent kindness means knowing when to say no to protect your boundaries, recognizing who deserves your trust and who doesn't, and balancing generosity with self-interest so you don't deplete yourself. Using kindness as a strategic tool, not a blind ideal. Being aware of human nature and preparing for situations where others may act selfishly. Kindness becomes a source of strength when combined with these elements. It allows you to stay true to your values while also defending yourself from exploitation. Why this matters today more than ever. In today's hyper-connected world, the stakes are even higher. Social media encourages people to present the best, kindest versions of themselves, but it also exposes them to more competition, comparison, and sometimes ruthless behavior. The gap between public kindness and private strategy can feel confusing. I've seen many people burn out because they gave too much without protecting their energy. I've also seen those who learned to combine kindness with strategic thinking, not only survive but influence and inspire others more effectively. This balance is the essence of Machiavelli's lesson for us. Goodness alone will not safeguard you. But goodness paired with wisdom and strategy can make you truly powerful. To sum up, kindness is a beautiful and essential quality. However, in a world where not everyone plays fair, kindness must be paired with strategic awareness to survive and thrive. Understanding this doesn't make you cold or ruthless. It makes you smart, resilient, and capable of maintaining your goodness without being exploited. In the next section, we will explore how Machiavelli's concept of virtue, combined with cunning, can help us navigate this complex balance, transforming kindness from a liability into a source of real strength. Machiavelli's view on virtue and cunning, the essential balance. Niccolo Machiavelli, writing over 500 years ago, revolutionized the way we think about virtue and success in his most famous work, The Prince. He challenged the traditional idea that being morally good or virtuous alone is enough to lead effectively or achieve lasting success. Instead, he introduced a more complex view that combined virtue with cunning intelligence, strategy, and sometimes ruthless pragmatism. Machiavelli believed that a leader who relies solely on traditional virtue qualities like honesty, kindness, and fairness without understanding the realities of power and human nature risks failure and even downfall. Virtue without cunning, in his eyes, is incomplete and vulnerable. Being good-hearted is admirable, but it must be paired with strategic thinking and sometimes difficult decisions. To understand this better, let's translate Machiavelli's lessons into today's world. Imagine the corporate office, a modern battlefield where politics, influence, and image often decide who rises and who falls. Consider a well-meaning employee who always follows the rules, treats everyone kindly, and refuses to engage in office politics. On the surface, this person embodies virtue, but if they ignore the unwritten rules, networking, managing impressions, negotiating behind the scenes, they may find themselves passed over for promotions, overshadowed by colleagues who are less ethical but far more strategic. Conversely, a colleague who understands how to navigate office dynamics, knowing when to speak up, when to hold back, when to build alliances, and even when to compete fiercely, often achieves greater influence and career success. This doesn't mean being unethical, but rather combining professional virtue with practical cunning. It is about being smart enough to play the game without losing one's integrity. Social media amplifies this dynamic even further. Success online often depends not only on the quality of your content or intentions, but on how well you manage your personal brand. Influencers, entrepreneurs, and public figures who master the art of perception, knowing what to reveal and what to withhold, build stronger connections and more influence. They understand timing, messaging, and audience psychology. Machiavelli's point was that moral virtue without strategic awareness leaves you exposed. Strategy is not about abandoning ethics. It is about applying ethics wisely, knowing when to be transparent and when to protect yourself without cunning. Virtue may lead to being exploited or ignored. This balance between virtue and cunning is not a call to cynicism, but a call to realism. It invites us to embrace complexity, recognizing that success requires both goodness and savvy. In modern culture, the distinction between image and reality has become more pronounced than ever before. Our society is obsessed with appearances, what people see on social media profiles, in public personas, and brand presentations often shapes opinions far more than what lies beneath. This obsession with perception aligns perfectly with Machiavelli's insight that it is not only important to be good, but also to seem good. In other words, the way others perceive you can have a greater impact on your success than your true character alone. Consider the world of celebrities. Some stars maintain a carefully crafted public image that garners admiration and loyalty, even if their private lives or behaviors contradict that image. Fans follow not just the person, but the narrative presented to them, an image of success, generosity, or charisma. The reality may be different, but the image controls perception. Brands also illustrate this phenomenon. Companies spend millions on marketing and public relations to build a specific image. A product's reputation often hinges more on its perceived value, style, or ethical stance than on its objective qualities. For instance, a brand that presents itself as eco-friendly may attract loyal customers even if its actual environmental practices are questionable. The perception creates trust and loyalty. This dynamic isn't inherently negative. Managing how you are perceived is a crucial social skill. However, problems arise when image becomes a substitute for substance, when maintaining appearances overtakes genuine value or integrity. For individuals, this means that success and influence are often tied to how effectively they manage their image. A leader who projects confidence and control, even if uncertain inside, often inspires more trust than one who reveals every doubt or weakness. A job candidate who presents themselves with professionalism and clarity will likely advance more than someone equally qualified, but less adept at communicating their strengths. But this raises a challenge: how do you balance authenticity with image management? Machiavelli's lesson here is not to deceive, but to be strategic. It's about choosing how and when to reveal your true self, protecting your strengths, and managing others' expectations in a way that supports your goals. In today's hyper-connected world, where impressions form quickly and can spread instantly, mastering this balance is essential. It's not about being fake. It's about directing the story others tell about you. Why strategy? Alongside ethics matters now more than ever. The fusion of virtue and cunning, image and reality, has never been more relevant. We live in an era saturated with information and distractions, where competition is fierce and superficial impressions can make or break opportunities. Consider how professionals use LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube not just to share their work, but to build a narrative about who they are and what they represent. Those who succeed often do so because they combine authentic expertise with strategic presentation. At the same time, corporate scandals and social media backlash remind us that lacking true substance eventually catches up. This creates a delicate dance: being genuine enough to build trust, but strategic enough to protect oneself and advance. Machiavelli's teachings remind us that ethics and strategy are not enemies but partners. Being good is essential, but being smart about how you express and protect that goodness is equally important. This approach allows you to stay true to your values while effectively navigating the complex social, professional, and digital landscapes of today. Why saying less can give you more power? In a world that often values openness and transparency, it might seem counterintuitive to suggest that withholding information can actually increase your power. Yet, history and everyday experience teach us a different lesson. Oversharing and impulsive honesty frequently lead to vulnerability, loss of influence, and diminished control over outcomes. Think about conversations or negotiations you have experienced or witnessed. Have you ever told someone exactly what you were thinking or feeling, only to regret it later? Maybe you revealed a personal insecurity or strategic intention too soon, and that information was used against you. Many people fall into the trap of believing that complete honesty is always the best policy. But in reality, honesty without discretion can be a dangerous gamble. Consider a business negotiation as an example. Imagine a salesperson eager to close a deal who immediately reveals their lowest acceptable price or their desperation to make the sale. This openness gives the other party an advantage. They know exactly how far to push for a better deal. Contrast this with a more strategic negotiator who listens carefully, reveals just enough information to build trust, but keeps key cards close to their chest. This negotiator maintains power by controlling what is known and what remains hidden, creating uncertainty and leverage. This concept is not limited to business. In relationships, whether personal or professional, strategic silence often speaks louder than words. Think of the moments when saying less allows you to maintain dignity, avoid unnecessary conflict, or prompt others to reveal more about themselves. Silence can be a powerful tool, signaling confidence, control, and sometimes mystery. Historical figures and great leaders understood the importance of managing information. Machiavelli himself advised rulers to conceal their true intentions, not to lie per se, but to avoid vulnerability in a world where others are constantly seeking an advantage. When you share too much, you lose the element of surprise and open yourself to manipulation. In everyday life, controlling information means practicing restraint. It means learning to pause before speaking, to assess what purpose your words serve, and to communicate with intention. It is about understanding that power often lies in what you don't say as much as what you do say. The power of silence is further amplified by the fact that people naturally fill in gaps with their assumptions and imaginations. When you withhold information, you compel others to guess your motives, often giving you the upper hand in social dynamics. In contrast, impulsive honesty or oversharing can backfire spectacularly. It can expose weaknesses, create misunderstandings, or allow others to anticipate your moves. Many conflicts, lost opportunities, and damaged relationships trace back to moments when someone spoke too freely without considering the consequences. Mastering control over what you reveal is therefore an essential skill. It requires emotional intelligence, self-discipline, and a strategic mindset. When you learn to share selectively and communicate with purpose, you elevate your influence and protect yourself from being exploited. Unpredictability and emotional control, the shield against manipulation, closely linked to the control of information, is the power of unpredictability combined with emotional mastery, predictability. While comforting to some, can be a severe liability in social, professional, or political arenas. When people know exactly how you will react, they can manipulate you with ease. Think about the last time someone pushed your buttons. Maybe they knew exactly which words would provoke anger, or what situations would make you anxious. Their knowledge gave them control over your responses. When your reactions become predictable, you surrender power to others. Unpredictability acts as a defense mechanism against this form of manipulation. If others cannot foresee your next move or reaction, they hesitate to test your limits. You become a puzzle they cannot solve, a force they cannot control. Psychological studies have shown that unpredictability creates discomfort in others, but it also generates respect and caution. When you maintain a calm, composed exterior and vary your responses strategically, you keep others guessing. This unpredictability does not mean being erratic or reactive. Rather, it means choosing your responses with intention, balancing surprise with consistency. Emotional control is the foundation of this approach. The ability to regulate your feelings, to pause, reflect, and respond rather than react impulsively is a hallmark of strength. Emotional regulation prevents others from exploiting your vulnerabilities. It allows you to maintain composure even under pressure, making it harder for adversaries to provoke or destabilize you. Techniques to develop emotional control include mindfulness practices, deep breathing, and cognitive reframing, where you consciously change how you interpret a situation to reduce emotional impact. Learning to recognize your emotional triggers also empowers you to choose how you respond. Mastering emotional control also means understanding that showing emotion is not inherently weak. Rather, uncontrolled emotional outbursts often signal vulnerability and give others power over you. True mastery lies in expressing emotions thoughtfully and at appropriate moments, thereby using them as a form of communication and influence. Together, unpredictability and emotional control create a powerful armor. They allow you to navigate complex social landscapes with confidence, protect your interests, and keep others from exploiting your patterns. The intersection of information control and emotional mastery, when combined, controlling what you share and managing how you react, form a potent strategy for maintaining power and influence. You control the narrative about yourself, revealing only what serves your purpose, while your emotional poise prevents others from gaining leverage through provocation. This dual mastery requires awareness, practice, and patience, but it rewards you with increased respect, better relationships, and greater success in all areas of life. Scarcity and strategic distance. Why being too available lowers your value. Have you ever noticed that the people who are always on, always available, often don't get the respect or attention they deserve? It sounds counterintuitive. Shouldn't being helpful and present make you more valued? The truth, however, is far more complex and interesting. In social dynamics, as in many aspects of life, scarcity creates value. When something or someone is abundant, we tend to take it for granted. Imagine a luxury brand that floods the market with products. The brand loses its exclusivity, and its products no longer feel special. On the other hand, brands that release limited editions or create a sense of exclusivity command higher demand and respect. This principle applies equally to people. If you are constantly available to everyone, responding immediately to every message, attending every event, always agreeing to help, your time and presence start to feel less precious. Others may begin to see you as a resource they can call on at will rather than someone with boundaries and worth. Strategic distance means choosing when to engage and when to step back. It means regulating your presence so that when you do show up, people notice and value it more. This is not about playing games or being manipulative. It's about recognizing the natural dynamics of human attention and respect. Consider the powerful impact of absence in your life. Have you ever noticed how missing someone can make your feelings stronger? How a break in communication can make conversations more meaningful when they resume? That's scarcity at work. By practicing strategic distance, you create space for others to recognize your value, for your presence to make a bigger impact. This might mean not always saying yes, delaying responses thoughtfully, or simply being more selective about how you spend your time. Ask yourself, are you giving too much away too often? Are you risking becoming invisible because your presence has become too common? Learning to balance presence with absence is a subtle but powerful way to command respect and attention. The power of waiting for the right moment. In a culture obsessed with speed and instant gratification, patience can feel like a weakness. Yet history and the lives of the most successful people tell a different story. Those who wait for the right moment often achieve the greatest victories. Think about legendary figures like Nelson Mandela, who spent decades in prison before emerging to lead South Africa through reconciliation. His patience was not passive but strategic. He knew when to act and when to wait, accumulating strength and influence over time. Or consider entrepreneurs like Warren Buffett, famous for his calm, deliberate investment style. He doesn't rush into decisions. Instead, he studies markets, waits for the perfect opportunity, and then acts with precision. His success is largely due to this mastery of timing. Waiting strategically means resisting the urge to act impulsively. It means observing, learning, and preparing until the conditions are just right. It requires discipline and trust in your long-term vision, in your own life. This might look like waiting before responding to a difficult conversation, holding off on a big career move until you have more information, or cultivating skills patiently before seeking recognition. Reflect for a moment. How often have you rushed into decisions only to regret them later? What if success was less about speed and more about timing? Strategic patience is not about doing nothing. It is about doing what matters at the right time. Becoming an anomaly. Rewrite the rules and stand out. Here's a powerful truth: the world is designed to consume those who conform. If you follow the crowd, behave as expected, and stick to the usual paths, you're likely to blend in and be forgotten. But what if you decided to be different? What if you chose to rewrite the script, not to break rules blindly, but to create your own rules that serve you better? Becoming an anomaly means stepping outside the box of conventional thinking. It means daring to act unpredictably, to innovate, and to challenge the status quo. Consider innovators like Steve Jobs, who did not just improve technology, but reshaped entire industries by thinking differently. Or artists like Frida Kahlo, whose unique style and perspective set her apart and made her unforgettable. You don't have to be a global icon to become an anomaly. It could be as simple as choosing how you communicate, how you manage your time, or how you build your personal brand. Small, consistent actions that break patterns can shift how others perceive you. Ask yourself, what rules have you been following without questioning? Where can you inject originality and boldness in your life? If you have followed along this far, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below with the phrase, "Power is in the silence," to show that you truly understand the message we have explored today. If this video challenged the way you think about kindness, power, and strategy, please hit the like button and share it with friends who might benefit. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more content that turns conventional wisdom on its head and equips you to live smarter, stronger, and more intentionally. Remember this: you have a choice. You can continue being a pawn in the game, following rules that don't serve you, being invisible, and letting others control your destiny. Or you can become the player who writes the rules, the one who controls their image, masters their emotions, values their presence, and patiently strikes when the time is right. The difference between surviving and thriving is not just knowledge, it is action. Start today by applying even one insight from this video. Your journey to becoming truly powerful begins with a single step. So, which will you choose? To blend in or to stand out? To react impulsively or act strategically? To be silent and powerful or loud and powerless? The game is on. The question is, are you ready to play it on your terms?